Hello everyone, I'm Brian Till, along with John Hindhoff and Johnny O'Connell. Welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The series loves to come here, the drivers love to come here. It's very much a driver's track. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But John, since we were here last year, I hardly recognized the place when I pulled through the front gate.
Brand new front gate, the entrance looks spectacular, and then there's a brand new media centre as well. Significant financial investment here by the new owners. But you know what's nice? They understand motor racing, they understand history, so you haven't messed about too much with how the track drives, and certainly with the atmosphere and the character of the place. And the other thing you can be certain of when you come north of the border here to Canada is we get great fans and lots of enthusiasm.
Oh, the fans love it, the drivers love it. Johnny, we talked about this being a driver's track, new pavement and some extra runoff. What's that going to do to lap times? What's it going to do to driver confidence?
Well, Brian, I think it's going to make everybody faster. You know, Mosport was historically a place that you love to come to drive, but you never wanted to have a wreck here. Not only the fastest, but probably the most dangerous circuit on the schedule. And they add a lot of extra runoff road here. So as particularly in turn 2, fifth gear corner over a rise. If a guy had a problem in the past, he'd go barreling into the tires. Now they have a little bit more room. And I was speaking with Jan Magnussen earlier this morning, and he was telling me, well, you know, they like the added grip. They love the fact that there is that little extra room because it allows guys that already have a lot of confidence to eke out a little bit more. So I think in qualifying, we're going to see the times fall drastically.
Well, you can see that the number 22 is back into pristine condition. This is a brand new car that the team actually got from Porsche just in the last 8 days. The team completely rebuilt the car. It was a Herculean effort. But Jerome Blekemolen, you were the driver behind the wheel of the car during the contact. What condition are you in?
I'm okay. Well, like a car, it's okay. You know, we could repair the car, and I didn't need repair, so I'm happy. Yeah, that I didn't feel anything bad. But it was a big shunt.
When you have a big shunt like that, it's the end of your race. How difficult is it to come back and get back behind the wheel of the car for the next race?
Actually, it was a good way. I flew home overnight, and the next day I did a race in Europe right after the crash. So yeah, I got back behind the wheel right away and worked out fine. And I'm happy to be back here with a brand new car. And the boys have done a great job preparing the car, and it's fast. So we'll definitely have a shot at the pole position.
Another incident that occurred at Lime Rock was with the safety car when we were under full course caution, where you actually tried to pass the safety car. What was the confusion?
Well, they told me it was wave-by time, so I took the wave-by. Also, the guy in the safety car had his hand out of the window. Maybe he was hot, I don't know, but he pointed to the right, so I thought, okay, I'm clear to go. They told me as well. And then suddenly he turned in on me, so I nearly hit him. So there was some confusion. But anyway, I think like 5 seconds later, they officially gave the wave-by. But I still don't know why he had his hand out of the window.
All right, well, here at Mosport qualifying, just a couple minutes away. I know you have duties. What are your expectations?
Well, it's been going well. Yesterday we were P1, this morning again. Now we were second, but it's going to be a tight battle. I think 3 or 4 cars are really in the fight, and we're definitely one of them.
It's always exciting to watch. For more on GTC, here's Justin Bell.
Yes, I'm standing here with Ryan Dial and Alex Popov, who are driving the 68 TRG GT3 cars. Actually, between the two of you, there's almost nothing you haven't driven over the last couple of years. I mean, Viper, prototypes, but it's actually your first time in a GT3 car here, Ryan. So you're fast, but so is everyone else.
It's a tough field. First time in GTC. I've driven a couple of Porsches over the years, but probably my least experience comes in these. But we're just hoping for a good result. It's hard to come in, you know, it's such strong guys in this field, as it always has been. So we're just trying to stay out of trouble and learn a little bit, but we got a little bit of work to do here.
the track has changed. I mean, Jamie was just talking about it with Bleak Motor. The track has changed. It is smoother. You've got real asphalt instead of concrete patches, which gives you grip, but then the grip has to end at some point as you go to the original surface. Can you feel that in the car through the corners?
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Toronto when we used to run Champ Car there. You know, you have the patches in the middle of the corner that grip up, and then you come off them and you build into this big understeer. So I think everybody's fighting the same thing. It's all about trying to get the car really good in the apex, maybe holding a little bit of a later apex so you kind of compensate for that understeer. But it's tough, but it's great to see the changes that they made here at Canadian Tire Motorsport, and I hope this is part of the future because it's a cool place to come.
Well, I know you've got to get going in a minute. It's momentum again. Do you remember that? You've got away from the horsepower. You're back into momentum.
I think
guys,
you should go have a drive.
I'm surprised Justin isn't going to climb in. We have to keep Johnny up here, or he would want to go down. 5 different classes of cars. We'll start qualifying first with GT Challenge.
And these cars are all Porsches from 2010 to 2012, the 997 body shell shape, all running on Yokohama tyres. And then we've got the GT cars. Now, these are the more developed cars, more horsepower, bigger engines, and of course, different shapes and sizes as well. And they'll be out together.
When you talk about different shapes and sizes, the prototype category is the same way. We'll start with the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge class. All of the chassis identical, the Continental Tire's identical, and it's up to the teams and drivers to make the most of it. Then you get to the most sophisticated cars on the racetrack.
These are the thoroughbreds, aren't they? Bred to go very fast for very long times. P1 and P2, very similar. Basically, the P2 cars are using production-based engines, where the P1 cars, they are purpose-built racing engines. But they're great, and they're so sexy.
Well, we talk about the GTC category, and Enrique Cisneros, his Momo team, out in front of the points, but things are definitely closing down, Jamie.
Well, as we get ready for GTC qualifying, Enrique Cisneros, you are leading this GTC championship battle by only 1 point. Here at Mosport, anything can happen. What are your nerves like?
No, I mean, the good thing is we're basically back to the first race. The top 3 guys are essentially tied, and you know, Mosport is a difficult track. A friend of mine described it as a monkey with a knife. You never know what's going to happen. So, I mean, qualifying is great to be in the top 3, but in the end, a lot happens during the race, and we have to be consistent. It's Sean's first time out here, but he's been quick right out of the box. So we're hoping that he can bring it home in first, and we'll see. Hopefully, we'll still be in the lead after this race.
You mentioned Sean Edwards, your co-driver again this weekend. You've been through a couple of co-drivers so far this season. What is that like to have to work with in the team?
Yeah, it's not fun to be driving with a lot of different drivers. You know, everyone has different driving styles and different setups. Sean and I drive very well together. We like the car the same way. So I'm happy that he's back in the car with me. You know, again, if you win many races with different drivers, it says a lot about the team. It's not about, you know, a secret weapon. It's a whole team effort. But you know, we have Sean for the rest of the season, and we're glad that that he's with us. So, you know, hopefully we'll have a good qualifying session, and we'll see during the race what happens.
It's about to get going. Thanks, Enrique.
And Enrique Cisneros, Sean Edwards won together at Long Beach, but he has had 3 co-drivers in 5 races. This is the way the points play out. Cisneros had a problem at Lime Rock and was knocked off track, so dropped back. That allowed Spencer Pompelli and Nelson Canache to win that race, and that's really what closed things down, because remember that contact we saw with Jerome Bleakmull, and he and Cooper McNeil dropped way back and lost a couple of positions in the championship, and that is what has narrowed it down.
Yeah, but what they were saying there about teamwork is absolutely key at this time of the year, guys, because you have got to have a team that knows how to do this stretch into the end of the season. The races come thick and fast from here. You can't afford to make mistakes.
Well, we talk about the changes to the racetrack. We've got new asphalt in some of the apexes, and it really seemed to bite some people. There's a look at the Delta Wing, a little bit of excitement, but most of the problems seem to be, Johnny, up in turn 5A.
Well, you know what? A lot of guys bring it in there a little bit deeper than they might have in the past. The reason being, there used to be grass there and then a barrier. Okay, now it's a little bit more open up visually. The impact point isn't as close. Guys are going to take a chance now and then, and right now the circuit is allowing these guys to find their edges, and there were plenty of guys doing that this morning.
A couple of other corners created some problems, but like I said, most of the ones that we saw seem to have happened up in 5A. And there's a look, turn 3, and you can see, oh, there's that, where that new runoff down in turn 2 really comes into play, because that would have been a big, big crash last year.
Then now that, and this is turn 1 here. So guys really exploring the limits, but again, all that added asphalt gives you so much more room to get your car slowed down. In the past, that would have been a huge wreck. And what we saw, the LMP2 car, I think it was Scott Tucker going into turn 2. Remember, that's a 5th gear corner, okay? In the old days, he'd have been into the grass, into the tires, and riding in an ambulance. So, you know, kudos to everybody for the improvements they made here.
Well, and you love to see those extended runoffs more so than gravel, because gravel tends to mire the cars down and brings out full course cautions. This way, the cars can get back underway. Well, while GTC, or GT Challenge, is out on the racetrack and beginning to build up their lap times, let's check in on a GT story.
Yeah, Mark Goossens obviously just jumped out of the 91 SRT Viper, and that was a very strong session for you. Obviously only practice, but we were talking earlier, just trying to get that little extra edge that you guys need to be truly competitive. Are we nearly there?
I think we're getting closer and closer, but it's obviously a track that suits the Viper GTSR well. You know, and the car rolled off the trailer pretty good initially in free practice. Closed the gaps, you know, by little steps, but I think this is the best shape we've been in for qualifying so far since this program started. But we also know that the competition always goes that little bit faster in qualifying, so we'll see what we got for them, but you know, hopefully we get a good car for the race too for tomorrow.
I mean, when you're in a development program, you tend not to change the cars too much just for qualifying. You might do air tire pressures or something. Really, is that the way it's running? The car you've got here is the car you're going to run with tomorrow?
Well, we're not sure yet. We'll see how it is in qualifying, because we keep making minor changes because we don't think we're too far away right now. So there's no big changes needed for this time being. But you know, like Limerick, for instance, our peak was in the race, not in qualifying. So we'll see what happens here in Mosport.
Thanks very much, Mark. GTC qualifying underway, guys.
Yeah, Mark Goossens sharing the 91 SRT Viper with Dominic Farnbacher. GT Challenge on the racetrack. Remember, all identically prepared Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars. Speeds here certainly in excess of 150 miles an hour, all running on Yokohama tires. And much like Prototype Challenge, both of the challenge classes, in fact, we always say it's up to the teams and drivers to get the most, because the cars are spec. And right now, teams and drivers trying to do just that. Dion van Molke in the 44 Flying Lizard Porsche out in front, but only 1 lap in the books. And Johnny, I would think it's going to take at least a couple of laps to get temperature and pressures in those Yokohama tires.
You know, and Brian, we talk about this every qualifying event. You know, all tires have a specific lap number where they're going to be at their optimum. Maybe 3rd lap, 4th lap, 5th lap. And what the engineers do is they send the tires out there for qualifying with an artificially high tire pressure, John, so that they can maximize one specific lap. Normally it's going to be the 4th, 5th, 6th lap. And what they've done in practice so far is figure out when they think that optimum lap's going to be.
The tire guy is such an important part of the team. We've been talking about teamwork a lot already, but really he's just another part of the team, perhaps maybe wearing a different coloured shirt, John.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we think about it, and John, I know you and I were talking about this earlier today. We think of suspensions, we think of horsepower, all of that. But in reality, it's very simple. It comes down to 4 little contact patches that touch the ground. Jerome Bleekmolen now has moved to the top, then Sean Edwards takes his place, and we expect to see that scrolling through here. But it's pretty simple. It's those 4 square contact patches to where the rubber meets the road, and you've got to maximize that.
And as a driver, Brian, it's probably the most fun part of the weekend, because you are a gunfighter. You're going toe-to-toe against other guys for bragging rights. And these guys at the front, Sean Edwards doing a great job at the front now at a 21.5. Bleekmolen, of course, has been there at the front. And this guy, Ryan Dial, he's won everything. I want to say last year he was one of the winningest sports car drivers in the world. And the fact that he comes in here and can't dominate or beat these guys is really indicative of just the level of competition that the primary guys in GTC, you know, what kind of skill level they have.
Watch the time on the top left-hand side of the screen. The time to beat is Bleekmolen's at the top at the moment, and he is the provisional pole sitter, Ryan DL, coming through the final part of the corner, 7, 8, and 9. 8, 9, and 10 now, in fact. Just sets the car up. This is going to be his fastest lap, but he gets a good exit off that final corner. And you can really mess your lap up before it started here if you mess up that last corner, Johnny.
This is like the beginning of a flyer for Ryan. I think that's what he was doing. Now watch him hauling through turn 2. Oh, man, you have no idea what that is like. You've got to hit your marks, carry your momentum up into 5th gear, on the brakes, down to 4th gear. Get in tight to your apex. You can see that new asphalt. Pull the trigger coming out. Back up the gearbox. Mosport is a roller coaster, man, and it's one heck of a fast one.
Especially right here.
You're diving down the hill there, and then you're using, I guess you're using the hill to slow you down here, John.
A lot of compression. Coming down that hill, hard onto the brakes. Now you're onto the longest straightaway, up the gearbox.
Now, hearing from race control that coming through turn number 1 onto that new asphalt, the previous provisional pole sitter, Sean Edwards, lost his time. It was taken away from him because he went all 4 wheels over the white line that delineates the edge of the track. That's called not respecting the track limits. Paul Walter, our race director, said he would be watching very carefully to make sure nobody gained an unfair advantage by the safety changes that have been made here at Mosport. Across the line then for the 68 car.
And right here as Ryan Dalziel exits the corner, you see that extra asphalt on the other side of the red and white curbing. That's the area that we were talking about. And I always joke, if you pour additional asphalt, a driver will find a way to use it, it seems like. But as you said, Paul Walter wants to make certain that the drivers respect the track limit. So you must stay at least 2 wheels on the racing surface inside that white line. There's Sean Edwards trying to make up for that error in judgment.
And in fairness, Sean knows this because in Europe, there's a lot more of that tarmacked runoff area, and a lot of the tracks that Sean has raced on are Formula 1 grade tracks, which do have a lot of paved runoff.
Yeah.
And he's just gone back to pole position.
Oh, but did you see him coming down the hill, catching the car, regaining control, carrying his momentum?
Car really bounces off of 5B, off of Moss Corner. Almost pogos off of there.
Up the back straightaway, through the gearbox. Here we go back. Look at that.
Look at that.
You know what? When you don't own the car, you can do that kind of stuff. You know?
He has driven in Super Cup and the Porsche One Make Series that follows Grand Prix Formula 1 back in Europe. He's won that. He's done a lot of Porsche driving. What we saw there was extreme confidence in his own ability, but also in what the car was going to do, Johnny, because he knew there that he could keep his foot in the throttle as he came down the hill, and he had it. It wasn't going to bite him back.
You know what? And just, it's that inner confidence that, you know what? No matter how out of shape this car might get, I can bring it back. I can correct for it. But I mean, I tell you what, throwing down a lap time, 21.5 for Edwards. Bleak Mullen trying to finish a flyer right now, 3/10 back at a 21.8. Let's see where he's at.
It's another 21.8. No improvement. And look at the list of names. Sean Edwards, Jerome Bleak-Mullen, Pompelli, Dion Van Molke, Andy Lally, Damian Faulkner, Ryan Dalziel, Jan Halen. There are 8 cars out there, and all 8 of those drivers are very talented race car drivers. There are Le Mans wins in there, Daytona 24-hour wins, Sebring 12-hour wins.
Porsche specialist. Guys, you know, a guy like Bleak-Mullen, okay? Highly respect this cat, and you know what? You put him in a Porsche, he's so good. You know, Porsches behave a little bit differently. You talk to race car drivers; they have different nuances, different things that they like the driver to be aware of and take advantage of. Some guys can do it, some guys become masters at it. Bleak-Mullen's one of those guys.
Yeah, and getting the car to slide, as we saw Sean Edwards to do, that is not the easiest thing to do in a Porsche. They do like to hop rather than slide, and it is very off-putting if you're not expecting it. These guys are masters of the art. Talk about how many of them have come up through the single seats Formula ranks, and you've got Damian Faulkner, twice a British Carrera Cup champion. He's raced in Indy Lights, he's done Super Cup and won races there. But these guys know these cars, and that's why you call them the hired guns. That's why they're in here plying their trigger. As Bleak-Mullen goes back to the top with a 21.3.
So 10 minutes now achieved. The session is official. It'll be interesting to see if Edwards does a tire pressure adjustment and then heads back out, because he knows that Bleak-Mullen just threw down on him. and you know he's going to want to get it back.
You know what? I don't think Edwards, you know, we saw Edwards come into the pits because he probably thought.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah, they're seeing what everybody's
on a 22 right now, 22. I think some people are going to try to pop it on the last lap, pop it on the last.
Don't you love that strategy, man?
I was going to say, qualifying, these 15-minute sessions become a game of strategy as well, especially in the challenge classes. Here in GT Challenge, in the Continental Tire Prototype Challenge category, we see a lot of the same games being played. It is not over until it is over. Pumpelly on a lap.
Now, we look at our chart right here. We saw it took 6 Edwards, or 6 laps for Bleakmolen to beat Edwards. So that might have been the magic number those engineers were looking for.
That's Pumpelly got.
He starts his flying lap now.
Yeah, he was quicker that lap, so this should be the lap that it's going to be quick.
Through turn number 1, how much of the runoff does he use? None at all. Doesn't even hit the curb. Just saw him dab the brakes there, Johnny, in between 1 and 2. What's he doing there? Because he isn't slowing down.
That's a wonderful question. He got up on the curbing, so what he got was a little bit of a knockback in his brake pad. So you bring that left foot over, you tap it real quick, so that when you go to the brakes for turn 2, you have a solid, consistent pedal.
And what you mean by knockback is the rotors actually flexed and pushed the pads back out. So there's going to be a gap when you go to the pedal that first time. It's not going to be there. He needs it certainly here as he gets to 5A.
Oh, that's very, very dangerous to hit those curbs on the inside. They are very high. They look inviting, but anybody will tell you, and Johnny, you know this, that he's going in and he's hitting those far too hard. Sean Edwards is in the pits.
And Sean Edwards is not in the race car, so he will not be going back out to try and get that pole position. We'll keep an eye on him, though, to see how the rest of this qualifying session plays out, with just a couple minutes left. Don't know.
Ooh,
wow.
So they've played their tactical card.
Yep, it's been played, and you also saw brake lights again on Pumpelly out of that last corner because he had clouded that curb so hard. Wants to make sure he has that brake pedal like we talked about onto the front straightaway.
Lap, you'd have to go to reserve at some point.
22 flats, not going to do it. You just heard him say you're going to have to go to reserve at some point if you want to stay in this lap.
All right, so what will he do as a driver? Okay, he's going to keep digging deep. He's going to really focus, get into his apex. He's got a very good turn 2 going right now. And so what he will have to do is switch on his fuel reserve to make sure he can finish this lap. But again, remember, on his dash, he has an indicator telling him what his predicted lap time will be.
And the car is as light as it's going to be now because it's running out of fuel. And he's backed out.
We're still P3. We're half a second off. P2. 4 tenths off.
Yeah. It's Thomas Blam talking to his driver, one of the mega brains that we have on the wall in the American Le Mans Series. One of many, I would say, in terms of tacticians and race strategists that we have in this. The talent is not just behind the wheel, it's on the wall as well.
And you got to think about this. For Pumpelly, you heard Thomas Blam say 4 tenths off of P2, and so it's like, do you want to take that much more out of the tire? Because you got to start on these tires.
Second stop-go penalty for the 66. Damien Faulkner. Now that's unusual, A, because Damien is a very experienced driver in all categories, and particularly in Porsches, but B, all he's got to do is hit the button, and that would suggest to me that they haven't got their electronics set up quite right on that 66 car. There's a minute to go, and Faulkner is down in 7th position, and that's further back than you might expect. Here is Jerome Bleakmolen out there, and what's he doing now, Johnny? Is he basically just covering his bases?
He's looking for humiliation. That's I mean, I gotta
stamp people down.
He already
push. He said push.
Yeah. I mean,
so who are they worried about?
Great thing. Well, you know what? Again, remember, this car has been totally rebuilt. So you know what? They might want to just be stressing it, try to find out more about it, make sure it's in its window.
He is on it big time and onto the front straightaway. 21.3 was his previous best. 21.327, not as quick, but only by 17 1/1000ths of a second.
So he's got the 2 best laps now.
Yep.
He effectively has the 2 best laps, and I guess he's out of it now.
You know what? I said at the beginning, to be fast at Mosport, you need to be a minimalist. He barely did anything.
There's the checkered flag.
Except smoke, everybody. That was a beautiful lap.
Absolutely impressive. And it is the Porsche specialists that are up front, Jerome Bleekmolen and Sean Edwards. So good stuff. And if GT is going to be that good, that's going to be impressive. It's all Porsches in GT Challenge. Wide array of cars in GT. Let's check in with Jamie Howe on a story about BMW.
Well, BMW has been quick all weekend. It'll be Bill Auberlen who will qualify the number 55. That was the fastest car in the final practice session. Bill, what are your expectations with all the back and forth action we've seen in GT?
I think the Z4 is performing better than we ever expected. I mean, I'm so happy for these guys, BMW. I mean, you look, the team car's really good. We're good. I mean, I'm happy with the car. Look at the competition. When you look up and down pit road here and you look at, you know, anybody from Corvette to Viper to Ferrari, it's as good as it gets in the world. And for me to think that you're just going to be on the pole, I mean, that would be a little over the top. We hope for the pole, but I mean, any one of these guys can get it. They've all been quick throughout the weekend, and we just got to put in a really good lap right now.
All right, well, good luck. I know you need to get your helmet on. Thank you.
We're going to be slow in a straight line. He's not a racing driver's book of excuses as we look at the GT3 qualifying results. We'll come back to that thought in a moment. Bleekmolen from Edwards and Pumpelly, Lally and Dejan Volmorka. I'm telling you, I'm very surprised not to see the 66 car in there. Damien Faulkner will not be happy to be sitting down in 6th position, but the times are tight and there's tactics to be played out in the race tomorrow. It's not the end of the world for those teams that you're not seeing on that graphic. So another pole position for Alex Job Racing and for Jerome Bleekmolen, and he's with Justin Bell.
Well, there's a lot of excitement, as you can imagine, down here in Alex Job's Racing. Obviously, Jerome, what a fantastic effort. We were just talking earlier, every car in this GTC category is so close. It's very hard to get it ahead of anyone, and you did it. That was 2 of the best laps out there.
Yeah, it was a great lap. Actually, I had 2 really good laps going. Yeah, Sean had a really quick one early on. So I wasn't sure if I was going to catch that, actually. But then, yeah, I got 2 really, really nice laps together. And, yeah, great. I mean, the guys have worked so hard to get the car ready for here. And the car hasn't done anything wrong yet, so they've put a perfect car together. It's fast, it's reliable, so we're super happy, and yeah, now we fight for the race.
When you say fighting for the race, of course, Johnny O'Connell was talking a minute ago in the booth about consistency, but fast consistency is what it takes. You proved by being able to run again on your last lap. It was your 9th lap. You did, well, 1/1700th slower than your fastest. I mean, that shows you got a car to really take it in the race.
Yeah, definitely. Already this morning, I didn't take new tires, and we were really fast. So I could see that compared to others. So I think for the race, we look very strong. We have to see what the temperature does tomorrow, because that's always yeah, changing it a little bit in these cars on these tires. But still, I think in any circumstances, we should be one of the strongest cars. But as always, it'll be very close.
So as you can see, the number 22 WeatherTech Porsche is looking in a strong position for tomorrow's race. Guys?
You've got to credit that team for getting a new tub, getting it built, and getting it ready to go. Speaking of ready to go, GT getting ready. Patrick Long, Core Autosport, behind the wheel of the 06. There's Tommy Milner in the number 4 Corvette. You all right, Johnny? Johnny wants to be out there right now. I'm looking at the look on his face. Townsend Bell and the number 23 Ferrari from West Racing, Alex Job. As we move on back through the field, there's the Paul Miller Porsche getting ready to go, Marco Holzer. And we saw all Porsches in GT Challenge. Now we're going to see different performance aspects. Bill Auberlen in the BMW. Some of the cars are going to be faster in a straight line, some of them better in the corner, different aerodynamics.
Yeah, I thought
91.
Thought it was an interesting comment from Bill Auberlen, saying they thought they might be a bit slow in a straight line. As I said, that was not a racing driver's book of excuses that Bill was getting ready. That car runs a lot of aero. It's a very wide-bodied car. It has a very distinctive look to it in a class that has a variety of competitors. The GT category, still street-based cars, obviously. The cars that we would like to be able to afford to buy if we could go down to the local dealership. You have to produce a minimum number of them to homologate them, to make them legal for it, and these are the real thoroughbreds of the street division, if you like. Antonio Garcia is down in the pit lane.
And speaking of thoroughbred, those Corvettes are fired up and ready to go for qualifying. Antonio Garcia not in the car. Jan Magnussen will qualify the You can hear him go. And Antonio, we talk about the championship picture. It's Corvette, it's BMW. What are your thoughts on this weekend's race?
I think it's just going to be another tight race. I mean, we saw in practice we were all within tenths or within hundreds, and it's just going to be another race like this. So it's good to have the BMWs right there. I think the Viper is going to be strong here as well. So it's just another ALMS tough race.
Certainly is going to be exciting to watch. And more on GT. Here's Justin Bell.
Yeah, Tom, Kevin Smith, we just got Patrick get ready to head out there. The car in practice, did you get a chance to drive it?
Yeah, no, this is my first time here this weekend, so I'm trying to get as many laps in as possible. So Patrick's out here doing qualifying run. You know, we haven't got really the best balanced car at the moment, but it's a long race, so you know, we're trying something out in qualifying, and hopefully it'll work.
And of course, you're a Brit here at Mosport. British drivers have done amazingly well at Mosport over the last 30 or 40 years. It has a sense of heritage, doesn't it? There's fans out there that would have watched some of your predecessors race here 30 years ago. I mean, it's somewhere special.
No, definitely. I mean, I've never been to anything like it, really. I think the closest back in the UK is probably Brands Hatch. But, you know, it's a mighty fast track. The undulations are incredible. And hopefully we can find a good performance tomorrow.
Well, you better get back on that headset and help Patrick along, mate. All right, guys.
Jan Magnussen behind the wheel of number 3 Corvette, qualified on pole last year at a new qualifying GT record. So the Corvettes we were watching in practice earlier today, very, very stable around this racetrack. But I know other people have some tricks up their sleeves. The BMWs, you were talking about lack of straight line, but what they do well because of the downforce is corner. And a lot of people think that they can make up time between turns 1 and 5 to more than make up what they'll lose down the straightaway to turn 8. We'll have to wait and see. We understand the 93 SRT Viper will have a speeding on pit lane penalty to serve, and that was leaving pit lane.
Yeah. That's not a good start to any session, isn't it? It's interesting what you said about splitting the track, though, that the first half of then you've got this long back straight, which of course you want the car to run, and you hear the guys talking about the cars being skinny, not running a lot of wing. That means running as little drag as possible. But the latter part of the track as well, Johnny, you've got to be committed into this corner right here, and a bit of downforce here is going to really help you balance the car.
You know what, John? Fast guys are fast in fast areas.
Yeah.
Mosport, it's all fast areas. So the BMW guys say that, well, we're slow down the straightaway. Well, of course you are. You got more downforce than everybody else. You know, if they trimmed that car out, they'd be just as fast as everybody. So it's what configuration the team chooses to go with, and how much downforce is naturally built into that aerodynamic platform on that car.
Yeah, because every surface of the car exerts drag and therefore gives you some downforce, not just the aerodynamic wings. And clearly the different shapes of cars. Let's celebrate the variety that we have in the GT category, in sports car racing, in the American Le Mans Series in general. A Corvette doesn't look, nor does it sound, nor does it handle like a Porsche or a BMW or a Ferrari.
And we're glad.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And praise be for that. So that means each of the cars have an inherent difference in the way that they perform. This is not a spec class, this is not a spec championship. There's a tyre war going on, and there's also a big battle going between some of the biggest and most prestigious manufacturers in the world. And long may that continue into the future.
Yeah, and it matters. And just recognize that, you know what, the Corvette platform is going to be suited for some racetracks. Whereas, you know, the Viper might at others, the Ferrari might at others. So everybody has racetracks that are going to suit their car. You know, right now, Magnussen on the pole at a 16.3. A lot of laps still to come here. Again, remember, these Michelin tires, from my perspective, they like about the 4th, maybe the 5th lap. Each lap getting a little bit stronger, a little bit faster.
A lot of rain here last night and much cooler, so the track will be different. Now Dirk Mueller in the BMW goes to the pole. And here we go. We're going to start rolling through as temperature and pressures build and the drivers get up to speed on board the 91. Now being shown in position number 2, Mark Boosens behind the wheel of the Viper.
Everyone's favourite Belgian is doing a great job. This has been a fabulous year for the SRT Viper team. Put their toe in the water last year in the American Le Mans Series, and now have really upped their game. They took a strong car to Le Mans, just a couple of months ago, but didn't quite get the result they were looking for. But they've almost stealthed their way up through the championship positions, and they've been now able to say that they are genuine contenders. And a second place at the moment for Mark Goosens just shows how much work has gone into that car since around about this time last year. You've got to keep pushing forward in motorsport, even on cars that are built on street cars and based on street cars. If you're not developing, you're going backwards, because trust me, everyone else is making big gains. And here's Goosens then through the final couple of corners. This looks like another neat lap, Johnny, and he's had no traffic.
He's looking really good. Magnussen went faster that last lap, as did Mueller. Goosens right now. Wow, 15.6, which surprises me, because you know what? Going into turn 3 that lap, he ran wide, meaning that Viper really working. A lot of mechanical grip there.
Well, you heard Mark Goosens say we're getting to a point where we think the car is capable of it. I spoke to Jonathan Bomarito, who drives the 93 in his qualifying in, said the same thing. We've got to a window now where we think our next step is going to be poles and race wins, and right now Mark Goosens on the pole, just 0.2 of a second off the qualifying record set last year. Now the 91 off the pace.
And it's Viper from BMW Z4 from Viper from BMW Z4. They're wrapping it up, they're closing it out, and then it's the 2 Corvettes. And then the first of the Porsches is the Paul Miller Racing Showpart sponsored car in 7th position for Porsche.
And look at that, Porsche 7th, 8th, and 10th. So those are our 3 Porsches. They're well back.
But Magnussen just throws one down to a 59.
-2.5 tenths.
And he'll be hearing, keep digging, keep digging, keep digging.
Dan Bink saying -2.5 tenths. And for Jen Magnussen, the good thing is, I think just up the way, just up the racetrack is the 4. He's got a bit of a rabbit.
Do you key into the car ahead of you, Johnny, if you're doing qualifying, particularly if it's somebody you can trust like your teammates?
Heck yeah, you know what, he's trying to get close enough to him, maybe get a little bit of a tow, but again, Tommy Miller, he's trying to throw down a lap too, because, you know, even though your teammates, there is inter-squad rivalry, you want to be the faster of the 2 cars. Lately, the number 3 car, the momentum has been going their way. Of course, they got a great win at Long Beach. They were second, Laguna. They were second at Lime Rock, our last vision. You know what? This sport, guys, it's about momentum, and right now the momentum is with the number 3 car.
He's very committed into turn number 8 as he closes in. Bomarito to the top.
And that at a 4.62.
That's a
qualifying record, but it is not over.
So Viper's 1 and 2 at the moment. BMW 3.
Magnussen goes to 56.
-1.5. Great job.
Oh, and he's close to using all the road, but he still had those right side tires there. Understand Townsend Bell in the 23 is going to get a penalty for shortcutting the course. Perhaps that's the same as dropping all 4 over those white lines. And Magnussen still with that rabbit in front. Tommy Milner digging to see what he can get. Will Magnussen get a tow?
Bill Auburn in the 55 going up the hill now. And let's get an update with Jamie Howe down at BMW.
Just listening in on the team radios, Robert Michael on the radio right now saying you have 1 more shot at it. You need to back up and go for it. Go do that. But you have 1 more shot at getting that pole position. So the tires are right in their peak at the moment.
1 more shot to conserve tires. Is that all the laps they're going to give him? Did they fuel it with just enough to make X number of mini laps? What do you think, Johnny?
No, I agree. You know what I mean? Again, we talk about that optimum number of laps, or the target lap, you know, for doing the fast time. But remember, these guys go into qualifying, you know, with low fuel. Why do you love qualifying? Because you get sticker tires, low fuel, go as fast as you can.
And there's fewer cars on the track as well. This is the least traffic these guys will see for the whole weekend, through practice, through the promoter test it, and certainly the race. They will never get a track that is just for them as much as it is right now.
You don't want to put that many laps on your tires anyway. Tomorrow should be a nice cool day, but you want to keep them in good shape. Arberlin out of Moss Corner, down the back straightaway.
He's looking good this lap. You know, he's carrying his momentum. He's not running wide. You know, that was the amazing things when we saw Goosen's lap.
Got a good one going here.
Got a good one going.
They can tell.
Looking at telemetry and the predictive lap.
Barely off it.
Dude. bit of understeer.
Just gone through the 10-minute mark, so this one is official as well. We've done enough green flag running.
Accelerate on one, go. Oh, it brings it better. Not enough.
7.26. It's his best lap, though, guys.
It's his best lap, but it doesn't move him up the order.
Still only 5th with his teammate.
Oh my God!
Muller ahead of him.
How deep you took at that time.
Magnussen digging deep. Johnny coming out of his seat over here.
Use the button everywhere.
Right, now what does that mean? Use the button everywhere. Is that extra revs? You're not allowed to overboost because there isn't an overboost because it's not a turbo engine. So what's that mean?
That's beyond my big. No idea what he was talking about.
I would have played poker with you, Joey.
Use the what?
Pants on fire.
Viper, Corvette, Viper, BMW. That is the top 4 right now. Bomarito over Magnussen. Then
and Magnussen's off.
Big crash for Magnussen.
Magnussen is off at the bottom of the hill. And he's got away with that big time. The red flag has come out, as you might imagine, but all 4 wheels are still on that car.
Yeah, but the left rear is definitely askew.
He's been really lucky there because that was a high speed off and he's bounced. The tyre wall did exactly what the tyre wall's meant to do. It dissipated the impact. The guys are seeing the same pictures. Look at all the TV monitors that the guys at Corvette there. They have all of our cameras isolated. In fact, it's at the top of 3, isn't it?
Yeah, see the left rear is askew. And
you know, again, that's you carry your momentum, your speed out of turn 3 like nothing else. Okay. And you know what? You don't recognize how fast you're going until things go wrong.
Well, we mentioned just a few moments ago that we have had 10 minutes of green flag racing. I would suggest that it's going to take more than the 3 minutes that is left in the session to finish it. But that session is going to be called official, so it looks like a first pole position for SRT Viper. Now let's have another look at this, and we're not going to slow this down. Watch how quick this is.
Exit of turn 3, 4th gear, runs a little bit wide. Oh, man. And now, why did that happen? Okay, he could have apexed the previous corner a little bit early. Again, remember, you get the marbles on the outside. Maybe he crossed the line, ran wide a little bit, Yan out. Okay, now you know what? As somebody that has, you know, raced it with Corvette, continues with Cadillac, nobody spends a whole lot of time really learning from accidents. And I think that car is one of the safest out there, and obviously Yan out on his own power. They're going to come up, they're going to talk to him, all that kind of stuff.
Well, this is not what Jan Magnussen wanted to see. It's not what the crew wanted to see, Jamie.
Well, Dan Binks is the crew chief for the number 3. He's also on the radio, spotting all the way around the racetrack for Jan. Dan, what happened?
He just got in there hot, got loose, and got in the tires big time. Tore that thing up. But everybody here at Corvette Racing will work really hard and stay up all night, whatever we got to do to make it right. And you know, Jan, we asked him to put in another flyer there trying to get the pole, and, you know, sometimes this happens. So we're tough. We'll fix this thing up and come race tomorrow.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, he makes the point there, you know, and I love that attitude. These guys are all racers. That's going to be a long night for the guys down at Corvette. But Dan says, hey, we're asking him to go for the pole. Yeah. These things happen.
Well, and when you first see it, you think all the damage is on the left side, but he does nose in pretty good, so you think that there's going to be some obvious radiator damage and some splitter to the front. They will take this car down basically to the frame and replace everything. They'll be ready to race tomorrow. Well,
do you not remember when Ollie Gavin at this very place a few years ago went straight on at turn 2, and I thought for sure the car was done for the weekend, and the guys got it back.
And they got it back. You see Jan smiling, great. You know what, again, when you're a hired gun like this and your team asks you, keep digging, keep getting, you know, you get to that edge, you fall over sometimes. So, you know what, yeah, I'm sure Jan feels bad about it. They'll figure out what it was, though.
I'm looking at Jan Magnussen there, talking to the safety guys, John and the rest of the guys there who do a fabulous job, by the way, and he's saying, I was up on time. I was definitely up on time at that point. Now that's an interesting shot, isn't it? Because that front wheel reverses and starts going almost as if it's under power. Well, four-wheel drive's not allowed in GT racing, not even in GT3 racing. That is the sort of thing that happens when a plane touches the ground. It gets spun back up again with the the action of the momentum of the car moving forward.
I didn't notice that until you pointed it out, so I'm going to let you go with it.
I still think that all that Jan's worried about was he was saying, look, I was up on the Delta time. I had pole there. That was a pole that I had coming.
Well, that was the quintessential. It was really good right up until the
time it wasn't.
That it all went bad.
And we can laugh about this because he's out the car and he's fine. And, you know, people think we're being a bit cynical about this, but Jan Magnussen is a racer with a capital R-A-C-E-R. He will lose his best time for causing the red flag, so he may not stay in second position. That means we might yet see a front row full of SRT riders.
That's a very good point. I'm looking see if I can find his second best time, but I don't have it right here, so it's going to be difficult to see. But, man, for SRT, we've talked about their improvement all year long. Both Goossens and Jonathan Bomberito said, we think poles and wins are next. Are they, Justin?
Oh my God, the atmosphere down here in the SRT pits is fantastic. Jonathan, that is Viper Dodge's first pole position in over a decade in international motorsport. That is quite extraordinary. Obviously the car, we were talking before, it needed that little bit extra to get on the front row, and now you've done it. It must feel just extraordinary.
It feels awesome. Our Viper GTSR is running great this weekend, and everybody with Riley Motorsports has been working their tails off countless hours to get us to this point. And more importantly than the pole, we have a really good race car for tomorrow. My teammate Kuno's been awesome here. He knows this track great, and we're looking for big things tomorrow.
So as you are driving out there, at what point did you think, you know what, I think we got a car here that can take it to them?
Well, we knew from the practices we've been very competitive all weekend so far. So we knew we had a good car for the pole, but this class is so competitive. You don't know who's going to pull what out of their hats for these qualifying. So you just have to put your head down and literally wring out every single ounce. And around this place, it's holding your breath the whole time. A really fast, exciting circuit.
And of course, when you're watching that, you've got all these fans out there that are such passionate fans of sports cars. This place means a lot to them. What does it mean to you as a driver? Because this is a very special track.
It is a very special track. This is my privilege for me, my first time ever racing here, actually. I've been doing this for a while, and kind of seems like every year that in a series we don't come here. But finally I'm here, I'm getting to experience what this place has to offer, and it really is special.
Well, everybody, I think we've just seen that the Viper is well and truly back in the game.
Yeah, the Snake is definitely back. And like I said, they told us we've got a good race car, poles and wins. Well, they got their pole. Will they get their win this weekend? Magnussen's second best time, we're being told, was good enough to keep him there in second place. But, man, the Viper strong in first and third. If the prototype qualifying is nearly as good as GT and GTC, it's going to be awesome. We'll have it when we come back.
Deltran battery tender battery chargers. Just like the everyday consumer, the racing community knows the importance of a healthy charge. Deltran battery tender is the trusted charger for some of the most respected brands in the world today. Don't let a dead battery ruin your fun or work. If you can't start it, you can't drive it. Connect a Deltran battery tender battery charger to all of your batteries. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran battery tender, it's just a pretender.
Rated E for everyone. We dream of speed, of pushing to the limit and beyond. We dream of racing the ghosts of history, of perfect passes and podium finishes. We dream to compete. We dream to win.
Xbox 360, starting at $99.
Everything we ever thought up. Everything we fight for. Everything we dream of. Everything we are. The 911. Porsche identity.
Now relax. Let the chi flow from the inner Zhang Fu organs outwards as the needles open your meridians.
Oh, it feels so good. I really thought the needles would hurt.
So did I. I hate needles.
That must make it hard to do what you do.
Oh, not really. I deliver paninis. He's the acupuncturist. But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Oh.
Stay smart. Stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
This isn't just a car. It's a legend. This isn't just a family. It's a statement. And this isn't just a brand. It's an attitude. This is SRT, Street and Racing Technology.
There's a great shot from high above Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Glad you're with us for qualifying. Make sure you're with us tomorrow for the broadcast. 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN 3, 1 p.m. on ESPN 2. Let's check back down in pit lane with Jamie Howe on some Prototype Challenge stories.
Well, Prototype Challenge being held in pit lane while this cleanup continues out on the racetrack. So Colin Braun is strapped into the car. He's ready to go. Colin, you've had the pole position 3 times this season, but twice at the last 2 events. What are your expectations for today?
Well, you know, I think our expectations are certainly to go out there and put it on the pole again. You know, these Core Autosport guys have been working really hard. We always work on our race setup a lot more than our qualifying setup, so that's really our focus. But you know, hopefully we can go out there and put a good lap down and hopefully get John a good spot up near the front.
We talk about the peak of these tires and how there's that magic moment when everything really comes to and you get that good lap put down. At what point is it with these Continentals?
You know, it seems to have varied this year with the Continental. Sometimes at Sebring, you know, it came right at the end. Other times, like Lime Rock, we did it early on there, you know, just a few laps into the session. So it really seems to depend. You know, my engineer, Travis Lowe, and I discussed kind of our plan for this one, but, you know, we'll see what pans out.
Good luck today, Colin. Justin?
Duncan Ender, you had a very strong practice. You and Bruno Junqueira in the number 9 RSR car earlier, and obviously second place was a good way to head into qualifying. But let's go back to Lime Rock. You were dominant there in your opening stint and obviously set him up for a very strong win. The car and you obviously quite in sync these days.
Yeah, we've really found something this time out at Lime Rock, and we're struggling a little bit this weekend in comparison to that, but that was a pretty high bar. We had a really good car, but we're still a little bit behind the new track surface, and we didn't really get to run yesterday with the rain, but it's been hard to get a clear lap at all, so I'm not sure what anybody has out there. So second might be really good going into qualifying. It might not be worth a lot either, but I know Bruno can get the job done. Hopefully we have luck on our side this weekend.
Explain a little bit more. You say the track surface, obviously, for those people that are watching up there in the stands and on the internet, we know that they've replaced the concrete with new asphalt. Does that mean that it's the transitions from track surface to track surface that unstables the car for you?
Yeah, the balance change on the patches is something we're still getting our head around a little bit. And since we've had a different weather condition every time we've run on the track, it's a different patch every time we're out there too. So we'll see what it is in qualifying. We'll see what it is tomorrow when I guess it's going to be colder still.
Well, everyone, we will see, because that's coming up in just a couple of minutes.
Well, I think it's going to be cooler. Colder is probably a little bit of a strong term. Mosport, or Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, I should say, Bowmanville, Ontario, northeast of Toronto, and it has been this way since 1961. It is awesome. There's Google Maps, shows you what the track looks like. Johnny, take us around for a lap.
Outer space doesn't tell you how fast this place is, because, man, it is fast. You go through turn 1, especially in the prototype categories and the taller gears. 5th gear, turn 2, historically one of the most daunting corners in North America. You come down. Now there's a lot more road on the exit than there used to be, but it's all about momentum, getting in close to your apex, using all the road. This is 4th gear, up into 5th gear. Turn 4, you are flat out. You have no idea. The road falls away from you. Now you get some bumps. Now get it straightened out and down into 3rd gear for turn 5A, 5B, Moss corner they call it. Critical down into 2nd gear, because this leads out onto the longest straightaway. If you're fast out of here, you're going to be fast down the straightaway. Always had a saying, fast guys, they're fast in fast areas. You get up in the top gear down this straightaway. $170, maybe $175, 175 miles per hour. Turn 8, maybe barely a lift. Let's listen. Oh, he breathes it. Back to full throttle. Change down to 5th gear, into your apex, not into turn 9. It's happening so fast. Down into 4th gear. Turn 10, down into 3rd gear. Really focusing on keeping your momentum. You come by the straightaway, and man, you got a smile on your face every time you do a lap here.
You have a smile on your face every time you ride on board. There's the crowd. They're always here.
Hello.
And usually you see some puppy dogs with him. This is the way Prototype Challenge points are coming into this race. You can tell it is close. Michael Gouache really being hounded now by Colin Brown. Bruno Junqueira with that win last weekend, he and Duncan Indy, they move up. It is tight up front. Gouache needs a good finish here. They had problems in the 52 PR1 entry at Lime Rock, he and David Chang, and really cost Gouache a pretty comfortable lead in that championship.
And none of those 5 guys are out of it yet, Brian, because we've seen big gains and big losses in the first half of the American Le Mans Series. In terms of time, we've still got more than half the season in terms of races as we're moving on from this one onwards. And don't forget, with some longer races later on in the year as well, particularly at the season finale at Petit Le Mans, you get a few extra points for that, so you've got a chance again to make some big moves.
And you can't afford to throw a race away. Remember, in a 10-race season, you lose and you don't finish a race, you lost 10% of your season. So you've got to make sure you're hanging in there. Even if it's a 5th or a 6th place finish, get the points and go on. You can't afford to throw one away.
Now, we've seen some awesome qualifying sessions in the Continental Tires Prototype Challenge in the past, Johnny, and part of that has been down to the fact that these cars are really fun to drive. Not so very long ago, this was a Prototype 1 car that's all using the same Oracle chassis. These Continental Tires have been a revelation this year.
Well, you know what? And when you talk to guys, again, we're looking at an IndyCar guy. Yeah, they used to race in IndyCars right there. And you know what? And was winning in IndyCar races. Now he comes here. You have so much talent here. And the universal theme with this category, and I think as we look into next year, it's going to become even more popular, is that everybody that drives these cars loves them. They say they are so fun to drive, and really, that's why we got into racing, because it's a lot of fun.
Right. Cars are beginning to come up to speed. You talk about the spec Continental tire. It is a spec chassis, John, as you mentioned. And it's one of those deals, just like GT Challenge, where the team and the driver have to get the most out of it. You're not going to get a performance advantage because you're all utilizing the same equipment. Cars 160 miles an hour plus down the back straightaway here at Mosport.
Yeah, and some. And you'll see tomorrow when we've got all the classes on track at the same time that even for the big prototypes, getting past these prototype challenge car is going to be an issue, because these cars with that low revving V8 engine get max torque pushing out of the corners, and they're pretty slippery through the air as well. Colin Brown has put the first bid in. If this was a kart playing a competition, he's done an 11.747, and the car's still moving around rather more than I think Colin would like to
Really hopping off the left rear at turn 3. That's where Magnussen had his problem. 3 of the 4 races, Jamie alluded to it, he has been on pole. He's trying to make it 4 of 5, but he's got some tough competition this weekend.
And there's actually a scientific reason, believe it or not, why that car's hopping around like that, because he's got low tire pressure. Once those tire pressures come up, which will be another lap or 2, you'll see less of that.
And interestingly, listening to the guys in free practice earlier on in the week, and we were privileged to be able to hear all of the radio communications, tire pressures, even on a very warm day here at CTMP, don't come up perhaps as quick as you want to. They were maybe coming up a pound or a pound and a half each lap. Now, Colin Brown has got down to business very, very early indeed. He's now 2 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Local Kyle Marshalli in the 8 car in second place, a 10.9 to a 13 flat, and everyone else is 14 and above.
It's not going to stay that way. I would find that incredibly hard to imagine. There is the number 8, Kyle Marshalli, the blue and orange entry from BAR, bar 1.
You know what, and I'll tell you, and you guys will attest to this, is there anything more fun than watching a Canadian driver drive in Canada? I know, Canada. You know what? They dig so much deeper in front of their home crowd. And you know what? As a guy that was teamed with Ron Fellows forever, you know, we're going to see as Marcelli jumps up to second. Now he's only half a second. He's getting this information on the radio. There's nothing that this cat wants.
Wow, he was off the apex in 2, but I don't think he ever lifted once he committed back to the throttle.
And then he's gone wide again. It's the Magnussen line out there.
Yeah.
It's the spirit of Jacques Villeneuve there, because he was miles off the apex, but kept his foot right in as he comes up to Mosport. It's about half the way around the circuit.
You know what, this guy Marcelli, remember when he showed up a couple of years ago when you didn't know who he was, but all of a sudden super fast? Well, now he's this super fast guy with a lot of experience. So he's just getting to be a stronger and stronger driver. His lap is going to be wild.
Crucial part of the track is coming to now, Johnny, because through these next couple of corners, if the car is working well, it has to work well here.
Colin Brown a little bit quicker that last lap. He knows everybody else is beginning to close down. He's down to a 10.6.
And Marcelli has got a good one going. I don't know if it's in a 10.6. It's 11.4. Wow. Colin Braun has found something.
Yeah. A shortcut. That's what he's found. He's only doing half the circuit. We're not used to seeing these kind of gaps. Marcelli to second then with an 11.4. Junqueira down in 4th at the moment, Brian.
I'll tell you what's impressive. Ringer Van de Zande.
Ringer Van de Zande rigs one out. Oof. Junqueira. Yeah, so we went from where it was about a second difference to now 3/10.
Wow, and Junqueira right there as well, but Van de Zande has never been here. That's impressive.
And here's the thing about the Continental Tires Prototype Challenge category. These guys will stay out. We've often seen these sessions go, Johnny, for the whole 15 minutes because the longevity of these Continental Tires are, in their first season with these cars, are becoming legendary. It seems to take no performance off at the start of it. Someone's just spun there at turn 5 behind the car we were watching, and it was Junqueira. Wow, but going back to my point, we have seen the guys stay out there and run down their fuel loads, and sometimes we're looking at last man across the line gets pole.
Yeah, well, how exciting is that? You know what, again, I used to be a driver that didn't place a whole lot of emphasis on qualifying. Then I recognized, you know, and it was actually later in my career that I recognized the importance of it. But for the fans, how exciting is this to see guys hanging it out like they never do before?
That's just the end of it, but
John
it's there in that 5A.
Turn 5, and that's where we're seeing guys trying to grab that little extra momentum.
But he'd have been in the wall there last year.
Oh yeah.
You know that this is the guys they are pushing the envelope. Give a driver a bit of extra tarmac, and he's going to use it.
But you know what? Again, because these guys have that little extra area, now they take the little extra chance. It's like guys never used to fall off at Laguna Seca, okay, at Mazda, Laguna Seca. Now they do all the time because you got all the sand traps. You're not going to get hurt. So you know what? You did not see people here in the past really fall back. You know, right now as we look here, Colin Braun is on another planet.
Quicker yet again, a 10.4. That is a new qualifying record. He owned the record from last year at a 10.698, and it was a 10.6 just moments ago. He's gone quicker yet again. So that Core Autosport Prototype Challenge machine flying, but Ringer Van de Zande, I got to give him credit. He has not been here. Now, helping to engineer on this team, Elton Julian, a very accomplished driver, he is helping Mirko Schultes and Ringer Van de Zande learn this racetrack. He's gone faster. Oh, it's just a little wiggle there. Oh,
that's caught his attention.
Take a breath.
Yeah. Yeah. Now is the time.
Okay.
X.
What does that do to you? There's a look at the top 5. Junqueira in 3rd, Tristan Nunez, another youngster in 4th, then Marcelli. But what does that do to you, Johnny? I mean, you go off, you catch your breath, okay, I got this. And Colin Braun just went quicker again.
Wow.
Now down to
Shocking.
a 10.3.
Talking about being in the zone, and it looks like they've got him on the radio. He's backed up a little bit.
6 laps in a row that he has gone quicker, and
5 minutes to go.
At least now 2 of those are below the existing, former, as we say now, track record. Same spot.
Same corner.
Same spot, and we've not yet. We need 24 seconds more to make this.
It's not official.
It's not official. It's not official.
It's not official. Michael Gouache in the 52. That is your championship leader in the Prototype Challenge category. Gouache off in turn 3 in a very similar spot that Jan Magnussen was. You see him in the car.
He's wiped off exactly the same corners, but you can see to the left of the car, there's the front suspension and the wheel there as well, just sitting. That's been torn off completely from the car. But it's designed to do that. It's designed to dissipate the energy and take the corner off. He's moving around in the car. You can see his head moving. He's aware that the safety team have come to him. And the IMSA safety truck arriving as well. 23 seconds short.
And Gouache, a very talented, what we call gentleman or pro-am driver. Like I said, leading the championship, he's done a great job this year, but you can see just the end of it. It's almost the same spot.
It's identical to Magnussen. And now what happens is when you are crossing that new pavement and then you get to the old pavement, you've lost maybe 20–30% of grip just in that transition. There it is right there. So you can see in that outside area there, okay, when you get your tires far left on there out there, you're going to initiate a skid, an understeer. You're going to start losing the road. Once those left front tires get into that dirt, it's game over. And I tell you, you know what? You don't know how fast you're going until things start going wrong.
Gouache, a winner at Sebring this year and at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, and always good to see it's a safety crew there very quickly. And
we should mention as well, these guys travel with the series, with the Chevrolet trucks, which are fully equipped. These guys know the drivers, they know the cars, there's a lot of training going on. They do give up their time like all of the corner workers do, and we thank them for that because they're an integral part of what goes on and the safety commitment from the ALMS.
And you saw Michael Gouache hop out of the car. That is good to see on his own. Colin Brown up top right now, Ringer Van de Zande, Bruno Junqueira, then Nunez, then Marcelli, but we were just seconds short of it being official. We'll have to see how it turns out. Now let's go and look towards prototype qualifying. Jamie?
Well, you're a fan of the IZOT IndyCar Series. You would know that last weekend in Toronto, Ryan Briscoe injured his wrist. He broke it, so he was not here this weekend with Level 5. So stepping in is Mike Conway. Mike, I know you were still in Toronto following the IndyCar race. How quickly did this come together for you?
Well, yeah, I just thought, obviously after Ryan's unfortunate incident, I thought that, you know, this team might need someone to fill in, and had some LMP2 experience this year in the WC and Le Mans 24 Hours. So, yeah, and they called me back and said, yeah, love to have you. So, yeah, great to be here, and you know, great to be part of the Level 5 family. So, yeah, they're very welcoming, and obviously wish Ryan a speedy recovery. I'm sure he's missing not being here.
You mentioned your prototype experience over in Europe, but this is your first taste of the American Le Mans Series. What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, it's great. You know, car's really good fun, and this track here at Mosport is really fun, really fast. You know, not easy to put a lap together, so it's a good challenge, and you know, it's great having Scott doing both duties here with both cars. So you know, a lot more work for him, but you know, we're trying to get the car as dialed in as we can.
The only P2 cars that we have here in the States are these HPDs that ESM runs, as well as Level 5, but you race an Oracle Nissan over in Europe. How would you compare the two?
Yeah, they're a little bit different, but this is they're similar. I mean, they're always going to be, you know, similar amounts of downforce, but we run the Dunlop tires as well in Europe, so there's a little bit of a difference there. But you know, the power is similar and the weight of the car is similar, so I kind of knew what to expect, carbon brakes and all the stuff like that. So, but you know, still you got to find out the little intricacies of what the car needs. But I think we dialed ourselves in pretty good, and hopefully we'll get qualifying here.
And Mike, we'll have qualifying duties. We're happy to have you. Welcome. For more on P2, here's Justin Bell.
Johannes van Opik, we're standing here next to your O2 ESM car, and obviously one of the most beautiful cars out on track, a big fan favorite, but you're just standing here about to get in the car for qualifying. And I can see, even over the last couple of minutes, the intensity's built. What's it like trying to qualify a prototype at a track as demanding as Mosport?
I'll let you know after. I haven't done it yet, but it's a first year for prototypes for me, and a track like this is really eye-opening experience. The amount of speed you carry through turns 1, turns 2, 8, 4. It's a lot of fun. We're coming to grips with it. A little catch up with Level 5 guys, but we're enjoying it, and every session we learn a little bit more.
Certainly the team has an amazing engineering backup. I can see everyone working well together. The team was so successful in GT. It is a learning process, isn't it, as you put everything together. What do you need out of yourself and the car to take it now to the top spot?
It's really just more time. It's pushing everyone. Luckily, we have 2 cars that we can compare setups and work on parallel setups. And you know, this weekend we have a setup that's working a little bit better than the 01's car, and we just need to keep doing that, keep testing, and put more miles on it.
Well, I'll leave you alone now. Get into the zone you need to be in, because everybody watching out there knows that driving fast around this amazing racetrack takes a lot of focus. Thank you.
A lot of focus indeed, and it's going to take a lot of work to get the circuit ready for the prototype qualifying. You see the tires, and this is the second time they've had to do it. Great to see both drivers climb out on their own power, though. Let's head back down to the pits and more prototype stories with Jamie.
We also have the P1 class that will head out for qualifying with P2. Klaus Groff will have qualifying duties for Muscle Milk. I know you love racing here. What are your thoughts on the way the track's been upgraded?
I really like it. I think it improved the safety quite a lot. I mean, they did a lot of changes on the runoff areas and put asphalt on there, which really helps to, if you have a bit of a situation, to just go wide and come back and recover. But, you know, maybe it also led into some guys, you know, getting a little braver. Which sometimes is the case. And the track layout, I like it with the repavement. I mean, it has a lot of grip, a lot of more grip, like in turn 9 and 10 coming onto the front straightaway. So I really like the changes here, and I love this place. It's a fun place to go to, and usually the Muscle Milk team does quite well here.
More changes for the team. You guys actually brought it on at Lime Rock. You're now running the wider Michelin front tires. It's changed the front configuration of the car a little bit. How has that responded here at Mosport? I think it's an advantage here. I mean, we did a lot of testing at Road Atlanta, which is also a very high-speed track. And I think the geometry and the aerodynamics and the bigger front tires, it's just increasing the grip level a little bit. And it's a little bit more efficient here. So I look forward to qualifying. Seems to be a tradition now when we head north of the border. You and Lucas both celebrating your birthday. Tomorrow is your 44th birthday, so happy early birthday. What's the party going to be like?
Very little. I'm not a big birthday party guy, to be honest. You know, obviously I'll miss my family at home. They, you know, since 5 years now or so, they are sitting home and, you know, me celebrating their birthday in Canada. But that's the way it is in our job. So, you know, we had a nice little team dinner last night. Thanks to the team for that. And well, hopefully we'll win the race tomorrow. That will be a nice present.
Thanks, Klaus.
We're very, very lucky in sports car racing to have a set of top quality drivers who are really great people as well. Johnny, you've been part of this community for a very long time, and it's competitive. It's competitive out on the track, but there's a lot of socialising goes on, and there's a great atmosphere down there.
Well, and you know what? You're always concerned and aware of your competitors. I mean, when you are multi-class racing, you know, you get to know everybody because, you know, you're either being passed or passing everybody. And when you see incidents like this, you know, you're always concerned because these are your friends and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, but Klaus touched on something, and that, you know what, these changes to the racetrack. Okay, again, we talked about it maybe a little bit in the open. It adds that little extra comfort that sometimes allows you to push or encourages you to push in areas you might not otherwise have. And I'm shocked that we have 2 accidents in the same corner.
Well, it was good to see Michael Gouache step out of his car. We understand he has made it back to pit road, and Jamie is with him.
The safety car just dropped off Michael Gouache. Michael, we saw the video. What happened from your seat?
Well, it's just coming out the exit of 3 and just pushing pretty hard. And if you just get 2 wheels just on the rumble strip, or maybe 2 wheels over, it's grass, and the grass is wet. So I just got 2 wheels in the grass, and it was all over. There's just nothing I can do. It just starts going straight, and I rode it out for a while, but it just went into the tire wall. It destroyed the car. I feel horrible.
You say it destroyed the car. The race is early tomorrow afternoon. How much work will the team have tonight?
I can't tell. I mean, the front corner's torn off, the front splitter, front crash box, left corner's torn off. Hopefully it's not tubbed. You know, if the tub's fine, then I think we can put it back together. You know, fingers crossed. I mean, I was pushing as hard as I could and just blew it.
You're the slow leader of the PC Championship at the moment. How important is this race?
I mean, I'd like to do well. I mean, you know, we had really bad luck at Lime Rock, and I'd love to keep this championship going, you know, and it's just, this is not a good sign, but we'll do the best we can.
All right, thank you, Michael.
Just something that Michael said there as the car's going past. He talked about, let's hope the car's not tubbed. What he means by that, the central section of these cars are carbon fibre, the chassis, if you like, the monocoque, the part that you normally have everything else hung around if it was your street car. Now, what he's worried about is when he's hit the side of the circuit there, Johnny, and he's ripped off that front left-hand corner, that it's taken some of the mounting points or it's punched something through, because then that is a much bigger repair than it would be, and it may in fact require a whole new chassis to the car. P1s are next, and the Delta Wing's out today.
It would be very hard for everyone here and on TV not to notice the gleaming, sparkling Delta Wing make its debut here up in Canada. And Andy Merrick, you were obviously one of the pilots, I think is the correct phrase you'd use for this car. Obviously, it's actually very popular with everyone up here, seeing this car go around. But of course, now we've got to the point that you're actually getting pretty competitive. That must be really sort of a justification for both the drivers and the team in the progress of the project.
Yeah, I mean, it's brilliant. I mean, it's the first time for the Delta Wing in Canada, and you know, first time that we've tested here was this morning, really. So, and for myself and Catherine, first time at the track. So awesome to get around here. And yeah, we were quick first session, P2 overall. So hopefully we'll be able to improve. And you know, we've improved the car a little bit. I think Muscle Milk is out on their own. They're going to be, you know, really quick this weekend. But if we could put a solid performance in, then we'll be happy.
As a driver and as I'm sure a fan, like everyone else here, I just wonder what it's like to drive. Is it comparable to the other prototypes you've driven, or do you just modify what you do just that little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you know that every car you drive is slightly different. You know, whether it's a Porsche or a prototype, you know, a GT car, whatever, everything's got its own little feel. And this car is no different. The most important, it feels like a race car. And we've known that for a while, and now it's nice to show that, you know, some of our performance.
You missed the last practice. Why was that?
We had an engine issue after the first session, so we've changed it. So qualifying might be a little bit compromised. We'll have to see. We're doing an installation lap at the start now and check everything over, and then we'll go and do a lap at the end and see how we get on.
Well, everyone, obviously they're clearing up after that wreck out there. Andy, you better get his helmet on because it takes a lot of focus to drive a Delta Wing.
Andy knows what he's talking about. He's been an Aston Martin driver. He most recently won the Group C championship back in the UK and Europe with a Chevy Spice. So you couldn't have anything more different than what he's doing now.
Qualifying, we talked about 25 second shorts of making 10 minutes. That means they will start on points if they can get the 52 repaired. This is the lineup.
Wow.
This is how they will line up. Michael Gouache with the problem, but he will start on pole. If it ends up this way for Ringer Van de Zande, who had a great run going, he'll have to start way back in 7th. But there are more stories from the pits. Here's Jamie.
And I don't know that anybody's more disappointed in that than Colin Braun. Colin, you would have been on the pole position. You had the fastest time out on the racetrack. What does this mean?
Yeah, you know, I don't know. It's a little confusing. We've kind of been burned by this now a couple times. People causing the red flag and then reverting back to the pole. You know, it's just, you know, I guess it's disappointing for these guys. We've had enough of these poles, so I guess it's time to spread the love a little bit. But, you know, these Motorsport guys have been really good. We obviously were on the pole by about half a second in the lap time department, which is how I would have liked to have them set the grid. But, you know, it just seems a bit unfair that the guy that brings out the red that ends the session then gets to be on the pole because he leads the points. So, you know, of course, that's what we're going to say. I'm sure they're, you know, maybe not happy about it, but part of the deal, I guess, and we'll go into the race and see if we can't continue the dominance that we've had all year.
Of course, we do have to follow the rules the way that they are written coming into the season, so unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. But you did have the fastest car. That doesn't always translate into the race. What kind of car will you have for the race tomorrow?
Yeah, you know, I think we have a good car. I mean, our MO is always to work on our race car and then just see what we can lay down in qualifying. So, you know, we made a change right before that we thought might hurt us for qualifying, but certainly help us for the race. We wanted to get a read on that in qualifying for the race. So we're always thinking about the race. You know, qualifying is what it is. It's just, you know, part of the formality to get to the race. So like to win them, but, you know, it'll be a good race.
We're getting into the second half of the season now. When is crunch time to get those championship points?
You know, I think it's been that way ever since the start. You know, this PC class has been so competitive over the last few years in the ALMS series that, you know, it's always tight. You have to run good. You have to have good races. You really can't have bad races. You know, we saw that last year. I think the average finish to win the championship was like second or something like crazy like that. So you got to have good results, and, you know, we're just keeping our heads down, working on our cars and making them faster.
Well, since the PC class started coming here to Mosport in 2010, Core Autosport has never finished off the podium, so they're looking for a repeat this weekend.
Well, and Johnny O'Connell sometimes says qualifying is not that important, but Colin obviously believes it is. He's upset. Tomorrow, don't forget, 11:45 on ESPN3 and 1 p.m. on ESPN2. Prototype 1, Prototype 2 coming up next. They're the last group of cars that we've got to qualify from here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. I gotta believe it'll be just as exciting as the others.
You did it? You solved Corman's enigma. How did you do it, Professor?
Professor? No, I'm not a professor. I'm just here to see my daughter. She's a dance major. But I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night.
Stay smart. Stay at a Holiday Inn Express.
Deltran Battery Tender battery chargers. Just like the everyday consumer, the racing community knows the importance of a healthy charge. Deltran Battery Tender is the trusted charger for some of the most respected brands in the world today. Don't let a dead battery ruin your fun or work. If you can't start it, you can't drive it. Connect a Deltran Battery Tender battery charger to all of your batteries. Available at these fine retailers. If it's not a Deltran Battery Tender, it's just a pretender.
Doc? Doc? Goose!
Our technology builds some of the best tires in the world. Because when it comes to performance, we don't just play around.
Cheater, we said no 360s.
Who's up for some leapfrog?
Rated E for everyone. We dream of speed, of pushing to the limit and beyond. We dream of racing the ghosts of history, of perfect passes and podium finishes. We dream to compete. We dream to win.
Xbox 360, starting at $99.
August 9th to the 11th, the American Le Mans Series presented by Tequila Patron is gearing up to head to Wisconsin for the Orion Energy Systems 245 at Road America.
And it is green, green, green.
Watch all the action unfold as all 5 classes fight for position and struggle to be the first to the checkered flag.
Going into the last corner, it's now or never.
Stream the live qualifying show Saturday on ESPN3. Tune in on Sunday to watch all the action unfold live on ABC.
Canadian Tire Motorsport Park qualifying. It's been a wild one. Jan Magnussen with a big ride over in turn 3, trying for the pole and pushed just a little too hard. Bruno Junqueira, a little excitement up in 5A. Man, Ringer Van de Zande. It doesn't come any closer than that. He got away with one. Michael Guasch did not in the exact same place that Jan Magnussen had his problem.
You know what? And rarely do we see these types of issues here at Mosport.
Prototypes coming up next. Prototype 1, and this week, a little change in the Dyson Racing lineup, Jamie.
We have Tony Burgess getting strapped into the car right now. So Chris McMurray standing by on pit lane. Chris, a lot of driver changes here at Dyson Racing. How did this whole program come together?
Well, you know, Tony and I have been maintaining a relationship with Dyson for probably about 18 months now. Tony ran about 4 races with him last year, and then I joined him for Petit Le Mans. We had a fantastic time. The team is great. The car is really, really nice to drive. It's a very, very stable car, very confidence-inspiring, and we're hoping we do more together in the future.
I know that you guys you're signed on for 4 races so far this season. Your last race with Dyson, though, was last year at Petit. How different is the car now?
Well, you know, it's actually a different car. Last year it was the car that was formerly a P2 that got developed into a P1, their number 20 car. So we're running the 16 car. And there's some differences. I would say the main difference is, at least from a driver perspective, is how the front of the car feels. We've got big tires on the front, just like on the back. And the number 20 car had smaller tires in the front than the back. So it feels a little bit heavier in the front, but they're both very great cars to drive, stable, and like I said earlier, very confidence-inspiring.
How long does it take to get up to speed in one of these cars when you have 5 different classes on the track at the same time?
Well, you know what? It's I would have to say it's less about the traffic. You know, when you're in P1, I've always thought the traffic's easy to navigate when you're in P1 because you've got the power. The harder thing is, you know, I've not been in the car since Petit Le Mans, so the harder part is just maintaining the confidence to carry the speed through the corners. And it definitely comes. You just need a few laps. And like I said earlier, this car is so nice to drive that it makes it actually feel easy.
Solid team in Dyson Racing. That car you heard piled up, that was number 16, so Tony Burgess is now.
Tony Burgess just now leaving pit lane. Interesting to hear an interview with Chris McMurray and pit lane. He ran Petit last year, like you said. He actually won Sebring in 2005 in the LMP2 category. The reason why I say it's interesting to hear that, John, you'll remember this. I think it was 3 years ago Chris retired from racing.
Oh, yes, that's right. I had forgotten that.
Yeah, he forgot it. Yeah, he forgot it about 6 months later. He was back at a racetrack, and I was like, Chris, I thought you said you weren't doing this anymore. And he was like, well, you know, just sort of. I'm back, maybe. Talk about back. Muscle Milk back at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. There's the 6. Klaus Graf wastes no time, 106.9 on lap number 2.
Wow. You know what? These guys have just done such an amazing job. I'm sad that Rebellion's not here. Remember, that was a team that was over for the first couple races. Muscle Milk was able to beat them twice. I think Rebellion won once. But, I mean, somebody to push these guys. You know, Klaus Graf, he's been with this team for a while now. He's matured as a driver. He's always been fast. Now he's fast, savvy, mature, very smart and confident inside the Delta Wing there.
He's also a very, very good development driver, Johnny. I mean, you remember from the days at Panos, he did a lot of work with the Panos and probably didn't get the recognition he deserved because he didn't get the race drive straight away.
No, you know what? I mean, for years when I was with Magnussen and Brabham, I think was with Eric Bernard, you know, Klaus was the guy back there that would be there for the test, learning the craft, figuring out, you know, how the team works, but just a very, you know what, one of the nicest guys in the paddock. Very genuine, warm guy, but very gifted, very fast.
And fast enough to improve his time. Just a couple of ticks of the clock down to a 66.084 second lap.
And you know what? He probably lost half a second with Delta Wing.
Yeah.
So, you know, he lost a lot of time there. This time, clear lap. Let's see what he'll do as we go on board right now with Franchitti, who's on the pole.
No, he's just been pipped by Mike Conway. This is the 552 and the 551.
+.3 to Conway. You don't want the new guy to come in and do that, do you?
It's not job security when that happens.
Marino's hardly had any driving in this car, of course.
Good point.
You know, he only got in the car for the first time in the practice session directly before this qualifying, and so he's playing a little bit of catch-up in terms of track miles. But if I know anything about the Scot, and I know him relatively well, I know that he will not be leaving anything in the fast locker. If it's there, it will be taken out and it will be put on the track.
You know, and we've talked about this in the past. Marino Franchitti is a guy that has a lot of experience in GT cars, but to me, he is so much better in a high downforce prototype car. It just suits his driving style. Right now, looking really good through 8, 9, and now 10.
But you say that, but he drove the Porsche Spider. He drove the previous iteration of the HPT. He's driven a Lola, and he goes, no, not quite enough. He has driven all of the leading P2 cars from the time when the P2 cars in this series, remember, were challenging the P1s, particularly at places like this, because they had so much power and so much downforce. So yes, you're right, he has had a good career in GTs, and he still will drive a GT car. He's not frightened of doing that, but actually he's got quite a bit of experience in different types of prototypes as well.
Well, and what I meant was that his early years spent in GT, but yeah, you're right, he's driven lots of different prototypes, and that's where I really see him shine. Interesting to see him come from GT, but once he got to prototypes, it just seemed to suit
And the point actually to follow on from that, Brian, is he didn't do Formula racing. He did a season of Formula Ford in the UK, and then he moved into, we were talking about Porsche Cup earlier on, and he and Kelvin Burt won the British GT Championship in a Porsche in his first full season in a championship, and he's been in endurance racing ever since. We've got Johannes van Overbeek. He's come to the sport a very different way. This is the ESM 02 HPT, the Honda Performance Development car.
You talk about a driver with GT experience. Johannes had never raced a Formula car, and certainly never raced a prototype until this year when Extreme Speed Motorsport made the change to the P2 category.
Yeah, and that was a change that was made very late in the day, and we wondered if it would affect their championship challenge, because you go into Sebring, big point scoring, massive race. But the guys at ESM, I think they've transitioned very well into this. They've been able, Johnny, to run at the front of the field, and that says a lot about the organisation of the team, as Van Overbeek is in 5th position at the moment. Quite simply, those guys there who have had to do all the work with the new car, as Marino is about to come around again. Oh, he's letting by, so he's out of it.
Squeeze one more lap if you want.
Squeeze one more lap.
I think it's going, to be honest. I'd rather save the tires. Yeah, good call, mate. Bring it in.
And that's Piers Phillips, the genial Geordie from the northeast of England, big Newcastle United supporter, who's been drafted into that team, formerly with Straka.
You know what, and getting beat by a guy like Conway, you know, the new guy comes in, but remember, Conway is fast. That guy dominated the Detroit Grand Prix in Indy cars, the fastest guy out there, so very fast guy as we go on board with him. But you know, up Klaus Groff flew. He did a 5.8 around here. That is flying. You know, and then we're getting back to Van Overbeek real quickly here. Again, I think one of the difficult things when we look at Extreme Speed, remember that they did a driver change, because it used to be Van Overbeek and Scott Sharp as we see them pull into the pits. Okay, there was a change. Guy Cosmo is now with Scott Sharp. And so a little bit of adjustment, not just changing cars, but getting used to your teammate.
There's Scott Sharp in the 01. You heard Johannes say earlier, we feel like we've got a little better setup on the 02 than the 01 has, and right now, Van Overbeek in the 02 being shown 5th, and Scott Sharp back in 9th right now, so Sharp having a difficult time getting the speed out of that 01.
And you know what? And they were so good at Lime Rock.
Yeah.
You know what? They were stellar. They were completely strong. And that just shows you, you know what, how different tracks need different setups. And the fact that this is a new year to them, a new formula for them. They don't have the database as this session becomes legal now. These guys' session is good, so their times are going to count. But again, why might they be struggling here, guys? Because they don't have the data that level 5 has.
Yeah, it's a very good point. They were here last year in the GT car.
So Sharp talking on the radio. Looks like, I mean, he's definitely off the pace right now. Is he going to hold on and see if he can get one more flyer in, or is he going to be content? I know he won't be happy. Understand he's going to hit it. There's a look at the 16, Tony Burgess.
Great to see this car out. It's a Lola Coupe, and it's probably the last season that we will see the Lola Coupe over here in the United States. Dyson decided to take Chris Dyson and Guy Smith out of the program as they concentrate on new projects for next year, much in the same way as Rebellion is doing. That's why they're concentrating on their World Endurance Championship run and next year's new regulations in Europe. Dyson is looking at the choice between Europe and the new series here in the United States.
God, that looks so fast.
Looks fantastic. I also understand Dyson preparing a P2 car, and hopefully we'll see that entry by the end of the year. That would be great to see. Burgess across the line. And
9.5.
Not any quicker that time.
So your final lap. Final lap.
You're in final lap. He's actually has an aerospace engineering degree, so if anybody understands the nuances of these cars, Tony Burgess should. And there is a look at Delta Wing. And that car has been wickedly quick in a straight line here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
I think it is the quickest car in a straight line down the back straight. It's been pulling on everything, including the number 6 car. The clever part about this, of course, is that it does go around corners as well. There were many of us, and I'll put my hand up here, who thought it wouldn't work, but it worked. It worked well enough to turn laps at Le Mans and also to finish the Petit Le Mans. But don't forget that this effectively is a brand new package for this year, Brian, because they've changed the motive power unit, they've changed the tyre supplier, so they're having to effectively rebuild all over again.
Well, yeah, and you think about it, the checker flag is now out. We talk about how fast it is down the straightaway with about half the horsepower that the other prototypes have, the P1 cars have. Probably weighs half as much and much more streamlined, so it just shows the efficiency that you can get with less power if you clean things up aerodynamically, and that really was the purpose behind all of this in the beginning.
And no wings on the car. The whole car acts as the aerodynamic device. It's what Johnny was talking about earlier on with the GT cars. It's a stunning concept. It's still to be completely developed. And
checkered flag is
comes
out.
into the pits. And you're talking about how much it weighs or how much it doesn't weigh. Then that car is about the same weight as me and my motorcycle when we go touring. All right, put the driver in it, it's a little bit more, but sort of 450 to 500 kilos. It's another pole position for Muscle Milk, and Klaus Graf is 2.9 seconds ahead of the opposition. I'd call that a dominating performance.
Well, it is another pole position for Klaus Graf, but maybe more impressively is the fact that you guys are 7/10 faster than you were at the same exact racetrack 1 year ago. How impressed are you with the way that the car's developed?
The car was very nice. I mean, I had a lot of fun. You know, obviously there wasn't, you know, too much competition, but I still had a nice lap, and the HPD car was very good today. We did a lot of changes again in session 2. And it paid off, and obviously the track I think gotten quicker from last year with changes they made, so it's even more fun now. So I really liked it. It's good fun.
Your face kind of lights up when you talk about racing here. You told me earlier today this is definitely one of the big boys tracks. How intimidating is it when you go into the race?
Well, I mean, you have to really be concentrated and be very alert all the time. You know, we've seen, you know, a couple big accidents today in qualifying, so this track can really bite you quickly, and so you have to be very, very careful and never lose your concentration. And if you do that and then you get it all together, it's really a fun place. I mean, this is what's racing in these big prototypes it is all about, you know.
When we talk about the P1 Points Championship, you guys have it. It's pretty much yours now at this point in time to lose. So how do you maintain that concentration during a race?
Well, I mean, that's just the spirit of the team, you know. It starts with the owner and goes all the way down through the mechanics and the drivers. We just want to keep concentrated all the time, and we probably need it next year. So whatever we do, you know, we want to stay sharp, and that's the mentality of the team. And you know, if we look and we want to win every race, so you know, still a couple races to win.
All right, congratulations, Klaus.
Pretty spectacular lap, especially after they developed that car. Klaus Graf, then the 16, Andy Merrick there in the Delta Wing, and the Delta Wing, I'm impressed. They've done a real good job bringing that car back to the track. It's developing, it's getting better every weekend. No, it may not have the pace of Muscle Milk right now, but still impressive. Mike Conway, very impressive in his debut, not only with level 5, but also at this very daunting facility in level 5, up front, filling the front row in P2 here in Canada.
Mike, we were just talking, obviously, it is a huge commitment level required to qualify in any way at this amazing historic track, but to get pole position in P2 just must feel great. Your debut here.
Yeah, no, it's great. Obviously, great for the. Obviously, thank you for the opportunity with level 5. Obviously, unfortunate circumstance with Ryan being injured, but you know, happy to fill in and obviously wish him a speedy recovery. But yeah, great to jump in and do a good job with these guys. And it's a really rewarding lap round here. You know, it's really big commitment, as you say. Lots of blind corners. You don't really see the apex till you get to them. And yeah, it was a fun lap. I wish I could have done more, but you know, we've got to save them laps for the race.
And of course, the race is what it's all about. I mean, Marino Franchitti and your sister car very close behind. It's that kind of a track that I think you're going to find tomorrow, that racing here is as rewarding as qualifying. What were your sort of preconceptions of this amazing track before you got here?
Well, obviously, you know, last minute when it was all done and dusted coming here, and I just quickly looked on YouTube and thought I knew what it was about until I did the track walk, and you don't see the elevations. And you know, going down to turn 2, you must drop about 20 stories going into that corner. So it's a real eye opener, and it's great to be here. You know, I love racing in Canada, and never been here before, but I love the track. Fans are always great here, so yeah, so far loving everything. It's a lot of enjoyment, and this car is really rewarding, so it's fun, and obviously a big thank you again to the team.
Well, congratulations, Mike. Amazing result in the whole of level 5 here on their pole position. I think tomorrow, guys, will be one of those races.
Talk about tomorrow, 11:45 a.m. on ESPN3, and then 1 o'clock on ESPN2. Don't miss a lap of it. I mean, if qualifying is any foreshadowing to the race, it's going to be awesome, guys.
Well, I think what we've seen there is people taking 1 or 2 liberties that they wouldn't have done in the past, and Johnny spoke about it earlier on. This track can still bite you. That'll be the same tomorrow, but great racing, Johnny, I reckon, tomorrow.
Well, it's always great racing, but respect. You know what? The added safety area that they added, maybe guys lost respect. Remember, this is a fast racetrack. Some of those guys felt the force of mistakes today. Hopefully tomorrow's a good, clean one.
These fans aren't going anywhere. They've been coming to this racetrack since 1961, a track that's seen sports cars, Formula 1 cars, Indy cars, you name it. It is raced here, and you name the world's best race car drivers, they have been to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, Mosport, as it's known to most of the race fans around here, since 1961. The American Le Mans Series, this is their 15th trip to this historic facility. Tomorrow the weather should be absolutely perfect. The competition is going to be heating things up. That is for sure. For Jamie Howe, Justin Bell, John Hindhoff, and Johnny O'Connell, I'm Brian Till. Thanks for joining us today. And once again, make sure you don't miss a lap tomorrow. We'll see you then.